Good morning. I hope everyone's having a great time. I want to thank Digital Promise and Discovery for this opportunity today to hold this conversation, because I've been in education almost 25 years now, and while there's been many innovations and things have come and gone, the one thing I think we have today is a real opportunity. Because with this digital content, this technology, we are able for the first time to realize the promise of helping all children achieve at very high levels. And when it's all said and done, I know all the educators in this room, the reason we got into this work is because we want to make a difference in the lives of children. And so when I look at my district, Utica Community Schools, the second largest district in the state of Michigan, we have approximately 29,000 students. 90% of our students graduate from high school, and our students are doing well. But there was a time in Utica where students also could graduate from high school, walk across the street, heavily manufacturing base, walk across the street into GM, Chrysler, and Ford. And the fact of the matter is that as those youngsters walked into Chrysler and Ford, we were forced to think about a transformation, because all of you know the Great Recession hit. It had an impact on Michigan. So we were forced to think of change. The other thing about Utica Community Schools is while we are about 88% Caucasian, due to the economy today, about 26% of our students are on free and reduced price meals. We have a growing English language learner population, and many of those youngsters are Iraqi refugee students who, for the first time, some of them are being schooled or when they come to our doors. So while I'm in a suburban district, it's important to note that we also are going through changing demographics. This conversation isn't just about one group of students, it's about all kids, regardless of where they go to school in America. Before I get into some of the other remarks, I'm gonna ask for you to show the video, because I wanna give you a little more context about what we're trying to do in Utica Community Schools.
Innovation. It is a word that has come to represent the way the Detroit area is redefining itself after more than 10 years of transition. It is a region and a state that has been through a significant change. What was once a system where students could leave high school and walk into high-paying jobs is now part of history. It has been replaced by a region that is a leader in robotics, technology, and engineering. The industries that are driving this resurgence are looking for a worker who truly has 21st century skills, and they want it now. And it is this sense of urgency that is being reflected in the innovation in Michigan's second largest school district, Utica Community Schools. Our school district has been honored as a leader in providing programs that recognize each student's unique interests, needs, and learning styles. This customized experience begins as soon as our students walk through our doors and become part of a newly imagined kindergarten program. When UCS educators began to prepare for every student having a full-day experience in kindergarten in 2012, they asked, what if? What if we were able to use this new time and resources to truly restructure how we personalize learning? What if we were able to truly embrace the need for all students to have a strong foundation in a culture that expects them to learn anytime, any place, or anywhere? Welcome to a new age of education in Utica Community Schools.
You can clap. So I mentioned to you the impact of the global economy. You picked that up somewhat from the video. I share this slide with you because recently the Macomb Daily had an article in which they showed that American jobs are being eliminated. And if you think about a community that I serve, I said to you earlier, you could graduate from our schools, walk across the street, and you could have a middle-class lifestyle and move forward. And one of the things that we have to think about is with the Great Recession and the global economy, what does this mean to our children if jobs are being eliminated because we're able to automate, we're thinking about using resources more efficiently and effectively, and the kinds of jobs that are being eliminated are those that involve repetition and basic task. So as an educator, how do I think about this? I have to think about it as what jobs are being created. Instead of thinking of technology obliterating jobs, how does technology leverage the future? And how do we create jobs so that our kids can have the skills to walk into those new careers, or so our kids can create those new skills for tomorrow. And that's really how I think about our district, how I'm motivated to do this work. But even more deeply than that, more profoundly, is if this is a community where we've enjoyed the American dream of a middle-class lifestyle, and we know the middle class is the backbone of America, then we need to also make sure that our community can continue to be part of that middle class, contribute, because the middle class is about upward mobility. And not upward mobility just for my community, but for any community in this country. And technology allows us to leverage that. And more importantly, education allows our students to move forward and contribute to our economy, which is critically important. So as I think about it, there are two questions that I ask myself as I look at the transformation of the auto industry and the entire economy in Southeast Michigan. How do those needs parallel with education? And then why digital learning? Why does it need to be personalized? And why do schools need to adapt? And I really think at the heart of this question is, what do we need to do for our students? Because that's why we're in school. So as I continue to think about how do we transform learning, I've engaged my staff in some discussions around what does personalized learning look like. Yes, it's about using adaptive technology. It's about individualizing and differentiating, all those good things. But it's also about connections, connecting with students and teachers in the classroom. It's about having access to great teachers in the classroom, but also there are great teachers outside of the classroom where our students can network. And when I think of personal learning networks, as Richardson and Macabelli talk about in their book, what it is students having the ability to network with others who are experts, or even more importantly, if they're doing a science project and they're researching something, can they interact with others who are thinking about this in a scholarly way and learn more? And that's really what we want to do. And I would argue this is social capital. And if students have social capital, then they get new ideas and they think. I would also argue that another example of the power of technology to inform and spread ideas can be seen in the Arab Spring. If you think about it, it was a sharing of ideas and the examples of successful implementation that sort of were at the demand for democracy, self-determination, and free speech. So this technology allows people to share ideas, and surely if it can challenge a government, it can surely change education in America. So as a district, to be a little more practical, as we think of our digital conversion, we, throughout the several years, we have been blessed because our community has been very supportive of technology in our classrooms, and we have purchased things and our teachers have integrated them appropriately. But if we really are going to personalize, instead of having kids going to computer labs or rolling carts in, what we really want is our students to be able to use those devices and those tools right in the classroom as part of their daily learning, whether it's at their desk or it's in small groups or if they're spending time directly with their teacher. So we've upgraded our district wireless so that it's high speed, high density. We are currently assessing our entire community, our teachers, our parents, and our students to see where we are in terms of readiness to integrate more devices into our classroom, which is critically important. And then we, as mentioned earlier, we reimagined our kindergarten classrooms and through personalized learning and leveraging that technology. And I know I'm going to have an opportunity to talk a little bit more about that later, so I will come back to that. Another way we are transforming learning is that we are also using the Discovery Education tech book. And what I think is really important about this is that I was a former science teacher. And in my classroom, we did tremendous hands-on experiments with, I did experiments with my students. And we had multiple labs. But what really is fabulous about these materials is that as a teacher, you can introduce the content, kids can do hands-on, they can interact with the media, but most powerfully, if a student wants to set up their own lab when they go home, they can set up a virtual lab, multiple experiments, and they can learn what a fair test is. They can learn habits of mind, and then they can integrate that knowledge. And that's what real scientists do. And I can tell you there's a student in my district who tells me he goes on Discovery after school every night because he wants to be a scientist. And the way I view this learning, learning should not be perceived as just learning in the classroom. It should be learning that happens outside the classroom as well. It really is the real definition of lifelong learning from my perspective. And then the Center for Science and Industry. This is a Center for Science and Industry. This is integrated project-based learning for high school students. And these youngsters have the opportunity to learn multimedia, mechatronics, which is a fancy word for automation and robotics, and partnerships with business and industry, as well as the community colleges and universities. And these are high school students, and I can tell you, I couldn't be more proud of my teachers and my students in this particular program, because you have youngsters who are learning to integrate algebra and geometry in the problem solving that they're doing in a real world task. And we graduated our first class of students last year. Every one of those students went on to post-secondary training, and this year we'll graduate the second class. And students are getting, in high school, are getting certificates from Fanuc Robotics. These students are, several of them have been recruited for internships in industry because there's a skill gap between workers that they need and the education level. And these youngsters are being compensated for their services, and businesses are going to also support them in acquiring their post-secondary education. And when I think of college readiness, it's not about getting a score on an ACT. It's about having the skills to be able to problem solve and do the work and learn it as you go, and getting your post-secondary education. So I'm really proud of these students, and the best way, I don't do it justice when I talk about it. It's really the kids who talk about it best, and I have a very short clip to share with you of a young woman who talks about what CSI means to her and has done for her.
A lot of people, I talk to them about their portfolios, and they have minimal, just basic work because that's all they do in high school. They don't have much that excels or goes beyond. So what's cool about here is I get to create work that's out there in the world, that's at the same level. So I get to have that in my portfolio and really show not only what I can do, but what I've learned through this program that I can do in college and that I can offer.
Create work that's meaningful for students.